Who is Bloodraven? Brynden was born in King's Landing as the bastard son of King Aegon IV Targaryen and his sixth mistress, Lady Melissa Blackwood. Brynden was an albino and thus had milk-white skin, long white hair and red eyes. On the right side of his face he had a red wine-stained birthmark that extended from his throat up to his right cheek. The birthmark was the reason why he was called Bloodraven, as it was said to look somewhat like a raven drawn in blood. Brynden had two older sisters, Maya and Brynden Rivers. Although Melissa was eventually dismissed by Aegon IV in favor of his seventh mistress, Lady Bethany Bracken, Brynden was able to maintain close relations at court because of Melissa's popularity. Brynden had both Valyrian blood and the blood of the first men, as his father was a Targaryen and his mother was a Blackwood, whose family follows the old gods. It is hinted that Brynden was into the old gods early in his life, as he used a weirwood longbow on the deathbed of Aegon IV. Brynden was legitimized by his father, as were the rest of the great bastards, including Daemon Blackfyre, Shiera Seastar, and Aegor Rivers, otherwise known as Bittersteel. Brynden was not as tall or muscular as his half-brothers, Daemon and Aegor, but he was considered more cunning. A shade under 6 feet tall, Brynden was thin and gaunt. He had a grim, forbidding aspect, and sharp, vaguely sinister features. He typically wore the colors of scarlet and smoke, a dark gray mottled and streaked with black. For instance, one of his outfits included a scarlet tunic with black boots and a smoke-colored cloak. Because his skin was sensitive to light, Bloodraven usually went about cloaked and hooded. At some point, Brynden became a lover to his half-sister, Shiera Seastar. Shiera was said to have been the most beautiful woman of the Seven Kingdoms, and never married, but took many lovers. Brynden was her most ardent suitor and repeatedly proposed marriage to her. Although she refused to marry him, Shiera did share her bed with him, and was amused by his jealousy. Brynden was resented by Barbar's bastard son Aegor Rivers, as Aegor desired her as well. Shiera became another point of rivalry between the two half-siblings. Although Brynden carried the Valyrian steel longsword Dark Sister, and was a good swordsman, he was also an expert bowman, who preferred to use his tall weirwood longbow. During the First Blackfyre Rebellion, Brynden remained loyal to his true-born half-brother, King Daeron II Targaryen, instead of joining his bastard-born half-brother, Daemon Blackfyre. Brynden commanded his private guards, a group of longbowmen called the Raven's Teeth. Daemon Blackfyre's decision to claim the Iron Throne had been made rashly, and word soon reached Daeron's court that Daemon meant to declare within a month. It has been suggested by Archmaester Merrion that Brynden Rivers was involved in the news reaching Daeron. Over the course of the war, battles were fought between the rebels and loyalists, in, amongst other places, the Vale, the Westerlands, the Riverlands, and the Reach. But the final conflict of the First Blackfyre Rebellion was the Battle of the Redgrass Field, in late 196 AC. As Daemon I Blackfyre's rebel army approached King's Landing itself. At the Battle of the Redgrass Field in 196 AC, the Raven's Teeth gained the Weeping Ridge, which overlooked the battlefield. Lord Donal Arryn led the vanguard of the Targaryen forces, but Daemon shattered his lines, leaving the Loyalists in peril until Sir Gawain Corbray of the Kingsguard arrived with reinforcements. Gawain and Daemon came face to face during the battle, with each wielding a Valyrian steel sword, Blackfyre by Daemon and Lady Forlorn by Gawain. Their duel is said to have lasted nearly an hour, before Daemon gained the upper hand and wounded Gawain. Daemon dismounted to preventing Gawain from being trampled, and he commanded that the defeated Gawain be taken off the field. Then Brynden Rivers and the Raven's Teeth rained arrows down onto the Blackfyres from 300 yards away, killing first Daemon's eldest son Aegon, then Daemon himself, and finally Aegon's twin, Aemon. The arrows are said to have been driven by Brynden's sorcery, and people later named Brynden a kinslayer. Daemon's death led the rebels to rout, but Sir Aegor Rivers claimed Blackfyre and rallied the rebels by leading a charge against the Raven's Teeth. In the resulting duel between the rival half-brothers, Aegon took out Brynden's eye. However, Prince Baelor Targaryen arrived with an army, causing Bitterstein to flee. After the war, Brynden advocated a hard line against the rebels, winning out over Prince Baelor Targaryen's call for leniency. After Bloodraven lost his eye, he rarely covered the empty socket with a patch, preferring to display his scar, an empty socket, to the world. He wore his white hair straight into his shoulders, with the front brushed forward to cover his missing eye. In 209 AC, Brynden became Hand of the King and Master of Whisperers, serving throughout the reign of his nephew, King Aerys Targaryen. His first major trial was the Great Spring Sickness, an epidemic that had killed King Daeron II Targaryen, Princes Valar and Mataris Targaryen, and tens of thousands more. Seeing the corpses pile up in the streets of King's Landing, Brynden ordered the pyromancers of the Alchemists' Guild to burn them in the Dragon Pit. At night, the green glow of the wildfire pyres could be seen throughout the whole city. Around the same time, a drought began that lasted a little more than a year, causing many small folk to leave their lands in search of somewhere the rain still fell. Brynden ordered them to return to their own lands, but few obeyed. Indeed, they blamed Brynden, cursing him as a kinslayer. Many of them became robbers. Prices increased as trade dwindled, and it was widely held that travel was less safe under Aerys' reign than it had been under that of his father. Some people allege that Brynden and his paramour, his half-sister, Shera Seastar, used sorcery to uncover secrets. A popular riddle asked was, how many eyes does Lord Bloodraven have? 1,000 eyes, and one. Some claimed the king's hand was a student of the dark arts, who could change his face, put on the likeness of a one-eyed dog, even turn into a mist. Packs of gaunt grey wolves hunted down his foes, men said, and carrion crows spied for him and whispered secrets in his ear. Most of the tales were only tales, but no one could doubt that Bloodraven had informers everywhere. Brynden watched for anyone who spoke treason against the Targaryens, or who supported the Blackfyres. He was so focused on the Blackfyres that he ignored an Ironborn invasion of the north. The wedding tourney at Whitehall was a tourney held by Lord Ambrose Butterwell to celebrate his second marriage. However, the marriage of Lord Ambrose Butterwell to a daughter of Lord Frey was used by some Blackfyre supporters to join their forces with those who resented the rule of Sir Brynden Rivers. Bloodrave, with his spies, was aware of a plot at Whitehall to put Daemon II Blackfyre forward as the legitimate Lord of the Seven Kingdoms. Brynden marched on the tourney with 300 Raven's Teeth, 3 brothers of the King's Guard, 500 other knights, and 5,000 infantry drawn from the Crownlands and the Riverlands. In the face of such a force, Daemon tried to rally the tourneygoers to battle, but found little support. Daemon then challenged Bloodraven to single combat. Brynden refused and arrested the pretender, thus containing the Second Blackfyre Rebellion. Brynden had the ringleader, Lord Gorman Peake, beheaded for his crimes, and other unspecified conspirators were also executed. Bloodraven allowed Lord Ambrose Butterwell to keep only 1/10 of his fortune, and Lord Rivers declared that Whitehall was forfeit to the Iron Throne and would be razed to the ground to prevent it from becoming a pilgrimage site like the Redgrass Field. Lord Frey was dismissed without punishment, although Brynden told him they would speak later. The would-be Daemon II Blackfyre was kept as a hostage in the Red Keep to prevent Sir Aegon Rivers from crowning Daemon's younger brother Haegon in exile. Lord Brynden allowed Dunk and Egg to continue their travels. Lord Rivers informs Duncan and Egg that the dragon Daemon had seen hatch in his dreams was Aegon. At Egg's request, Rivers gives Duncan the gold to ransom his armor back. In 219 AC, Sir Aegon Rivers launched a new invasion after crowning Haegon Blackfyre the fourth-born son of Daemon Blackfyre. The Third Blackfyre Rebellion featured the second duel between Bittersteel and Bloodraven. At the end of the final battle, the pretender, Aegon I, was dishonorably killed after he had surrendered and had given up his sword, and Aegon was captured and brought to the Red Keep in chains. Arryn and Bloodraven urged Aerys to have Aegon executed, but the king spared his life and ordered that Bittersteel be sent to the wall instead of facing execution. However, Aegon Rivers escaped back to Essos when his ship was intercepted en route to Eastwatch.
Brynden continued as hand for Aerys' successor, his brother Maekar I, in 221 AC. After Maekar's death in 233 AC, Brynden, as the Hand of the King, called a great council in King's Landing to discuss the disputed matter of succession. As the Great Council was debating the matter of succession, a fifth claimant appeared, Aenys Blackfyre, the fifth son of the pretender Daemon. Blackfyre had written to King's Landing from Tyrosh when the Great Council had first been announced, hoping to gain the throne with words, as swords had failed his family 3 times already. The Hand of the King, Lord Brynden Rivers, had offered him safe conduct to Westeros. Upon arrival, however, Aenys was immediately arrested and dragged to the Red Keep, where he was executed. His head was presented to the council to serve as a warning against every lord who might still have sympathies for House Blackfyre. The Great Council chose Maekar's youngest son to succeed as King Aegon Targaryen, whose first act was to arrest Brynden for the murder of Aenys. It is suggested by Maester Aemon that Brynden was imprisoned in the Red Keep's dungeons. Brynden argued that he had sacrificed his honor for the good of the realm, but Aegon refused to set Brynden free. He instead offered the option of taking the Black instead of death, which Brynden accepted. When Maester Aemon sailed for the Wall in 233 AC, he was escorted by King Aegon V's friend, Sir Duncan the Tall of the King's Guard, and accompanied by an honor guard of recruits for the Night's Watch. These were 200 men and prisoners, including Brynden Rivers. Many of the men were archers from Brynden's Raven's Teeth. As he left for the Wall, Brynden took the Valyrian steel sword Dark Sister with him. The ancient blade once wielded by legendary Targaryen warriors such as Prince Daemon Targaryen and Queen Visenya. Despite being a former spy master and political figure, Brynden proved to be a formidable leader within the Night's Watch. His experience in warfare, command and strategy made him an invaluable asset to the Order. In 239 AC, only 6 years after joining the Watch, Brynden Rivers was elected as the Lord Commander. For the next 13 years he ruled the Watch with a firm yet fair hand, guiding his brothers in black through the harsh realities of life on the Wall. However, his tenure as Lord Commander came to an enigmatic end. In 252 AC, while leading a ranging mission beyond the Wall, Brynden Rivers and his company disappeared without a trace. The circumstances of his vanishing remain unknown, though tales and whispers suggest he may have been searching for something, or someone, in the frozen wastelands beyond the Wall. What became of him remained a mystery to the Night's Watch, but legend and rumor persisted that he did not simply perish in the wilderness. Instead, it is said that he fulfilled a different destiny, one that would tie him to the ancient and mystical forces of the world for centuries to come. Brynden is later discovered to be alive as the three-eyed crow in a cave beyond the Wall by Brandon Stark. Weirwood roots surround Bloodraven and grow through his body, including his leg and his empty eye socket. His voice is slow and dry, as if he had forgotten how to speak. Brynden merged with the weirwood in order to extend his life and heighten his power as a greenseer. Brynden extended his life because he was waiting for Brandon Stark. Because according to Brynden, Bran has a special destiny as a greenseer. Bran is disappointed that the crow cannot heal his crippled legs, but Brynden promises he will teach Bran how to fly instead. Brynden teaches Bran about greenseeing and skin changing. He later decides it is time for Bran to take the next step, and has Leaf give Bran a bowl of weirwood paste, made from seeds of weirwood, to eat in order to awaken his green seer gifts. When Bran sees his father Eddard through Winterfell's heart tree, Brynden tells Bran that he is haunted by his own ghosts. A brother that he loved, a brother that he hated, and a woman that he desired, but he knows from experience that the past cannot be changed. There are those who believe that in Bloodraven's time of exile, he communicated to the ghost of Highheart through visions. The Wood's Witch was present at the tragic destruction of Summerhall, and prophesied to Jaehaerys II that the prince that was promised would come from the line of Aerys and Rhaella Targaryen. Jenny of Oldstones believes that the ghost of Highheart is a children of the forest. However, no confirmation was made. The ghost herself states that the old gods do not allow her to rest, constantly sending her visions, while Thoros of Myr remarks that the weirwoods whisper in her ears. Many readers believe that Bloodraven has also been communicating to Jon Snow through visions and spying on the Night's Watch using Lord Commander Mormont's Raven. When the Night's Watch elects Jon as Lord Commander, the Raven says, "Snow, snow, snow." The bird also often says King around Jon. It also once said King Snow, Jon Snow. And the Raven also appears in Jon's dreams, where he fights dead men with a burning sword. Like the prophecy of Azor Ahai, readers believe that Brynden is attempting to help Jon lead the Night's Watch, and then potentially push Jon to press his claim as King Snow. Given Bloodraven's status as a powerful green seer deeply connected to the weirwood, it is highly likely that he is the one sending these visions. This connection suggests that even in exile, Bloodraven was still subtly shaping the course of history, guiding events through whispers in the dark, much as he did in life. Anyway, subscribe for more.